My best friend's mom caught me on a blind date and said, "Why haven't you ever tried asking me out?" The galaxy was full of wonders, hover cars, holographic cafes, alien cuisines. But when it came to talking to someone he liked, Jax turned into a nervous mess. Tonight, he was sitting in a small, glowing cafe on Orinia Station, waiting for his blind date. He glanced at the hollow screen on the table again. Lyria, age 18, human, it read, along with a short description, friendly like star games and ancient Earth music. Jax nodded to himself. She seemed perfect, at least in theory. He had nothing to worry about, right? Wrong. The cafe was buzzing with a mixture of humans and aliens. Some had two heads, some glowed softly, and others floated just above the ground. Jax loved the diversity of Orinia Station, but tonight it made him feel out of place. He tugged at his sleeve nervously. "Relax, Jax," he muttered. "It's just a date." Just then the doors to the cafe slid open with a soft hiss. Jax's heart skipped. A woman walked in, a tall human with sharp eyes and a confident stride. Her hair was streaked with silver and she wore a sleek uniform with badges that shimmered in the light. Every head turned to look at her, humans and aliens alike. It was Mara Kell. Jax froze. Mara Kell wasn't just any person. She was a legend. A brilliant diplomat, scientist, and advisor to the Interstellar Council. And she happened to be his best friend's mother. She smiled, scanning the cafe. Her eyes landed on Jax and she raised an eyebrow. "Well, what do we have here?" she said, her voice calm but commanding. Jax's brain short-circuited. "This is impossible. How did she find me here? Why is she smiling?" Hi," Jax stammered. "Hi," Mara replied, tilting her head slightly. She didn't look angry. If anything, she looked amused. Jax's blind date, Lyria, had just arrived behind him, waving cheerfully. "Hi, are you Jax?" "Yes," Jax squeaked, avoiding Mara's gaze. "I mean, yes, that's me." Mara stepped closer, leaning slightly over the table. "So Jax," she said, a mischievous glint in her eyes, "why haven't you ever tried asking me out?" Jax choked. Wait, what? His mind spun. Was this a joke? Did she mean? No, she couldn't mean that. She's my best friend's mom. I think you have the wrong. "No, I don't," Mara said, cutting him off with a laugh. Her eyes sparkled. "I just wanted to see that expression. Priceless." Jax let out a shaky laugh, but he was still red in the face. Lyria, meanwhile, looked confused. Mara straightened and waved at the hollow screen. "So this is your date?" she asked, smiling warmly. "Yes, hi," Lyria said nervously. "Hi," Mara replied again, then leaned closer to Jax. "Don't worry, I won't ruin your night, but you might need a little guidance." Jax blinked. "Guidance?" "Yes," Mara said, her voice softening. "Human charm is subtle, Jax. You have it in you. You just need to let it shine." Jax wanted to sink through the floor. She's giving me dating advice. From the best diplomat in the galaxy. He took a deep breath and tried to focus on Lyria. "So, Lyria, do you like star games?" Lyria's face lit up. "Yes, I love them. Do you play?" "Sometimes," Jax said, grateful for the distraction. "Mostly strategy games. I'm competitive." Mara watched silently from a distance, sipping her drink. Jax noticed and felt a strange mix of embarrassment and inspiration. Somehow, her presence made him want to be better, not just on a date, but in life. As they ordered their drinks, a glowing purple smoothie for Lyria and a steaming quantum coffee for Jax, the conversation began to flow. Lyria laughed easily at his awkward jokes, and Jax felt a warmth in his chest he hadn't expected. But then Mara leaned closer again, just as they were about to play a holographic star game projected in the center of the table. "You know," she said, "sometimes the best human advantage is unpredictability. Don't overthink, just be yourself." Jax nodded, though he wasn't sure he could fully follow her advice. Be himself. That was easier said than done when someone like Mara Kell was watching. The game began, and Lyria quickly showed her skill, moving starships across the holoboard with precision. Jax tried to keep up, but he was clumsy, accidentally sending his ships into a black hole. "Oh no," he groaned. Lyria laughed. "It's okay. That was actually kind of funny." Mara, from the corner of her eye, smirked. "See, humor wins where skill sometimes fails." "That's the human way," Jax blinked. Did she just call my failure a strength? Somehow, that made him feel confident. Maybe humans really did have something special. The rest of the evening passed in a blur of laughter, holographic star battles, and Mara's occasional tips whispered across the table. She didn't interfere with the date, but her presence felt like a gentle push, reminding him that humans had a way of shining in the strangest situations. As the night came to a close, Jax walked Lyria to her hovercar. "Thanks for tonight," he said, smiling genuinely. "Thanks." "I had fun," Lyria replied. Then Mara stepped forward. "Jax," she said quietly, "remember tonight, not just the date but how you handled it. Humans can be awkward, unpredictable, and messy, but that can also be your strength." Jax nodded, feeling a strange mix of embarrassment and pride. He realized something important. Human ingenuity wasn't just about big inventions or heroic acts. It was also in small, unexpected moments, like surviving a blind date with humor, kindness, and a bit of chaos. Myra gave him a small wink and turned to leave. Jax watched her go, his mind buzzing. She wasn't just his best friend's mom tonight. She was a reminder that humans had something no alien, no machine, could ever replicate: the ability to turn awkward moments into something extraordinary. As he returned to his own hovercar, Jax thought about the night, Lyria and Mara's words. Somehow, he felt ready for more. More dates, more challenges, more life. Humans might be unpredictable, but tonight, that unpredictability had carried him further than he ever expected. And somewhere deep down, he knew this was just the beginning of a much bigger adventure. The next morning, Jax woke to the soft hum of his hover alarm. His brain was still replaying the events of the previous night, the blind date, Lyria's laughter, and of course, Mara Kell's teasing words. "Why haven't you ever tried asking me out?" The words kept echoing in his mind. He shivered. Even now, the memory of Mara's eyes, sharp, clever, and somehow kind, made his chest tighten. But it wasn't just embarrassment this time. He felt challenged. He shook his head and got ready for the day. Today wasn't just any day. His best friend, Taryn, had promised to take him on a routine mission at the Aurinia Science Complex. Routine missions with Taryn usually meant doing something mildly dangerous while learning a bit of science he'd never imagined he'd understand. Jax liked science, but he liked avoiding explosions even more. By mid-morning, Jax was aboard the complex's shuttle, zooming through the bustling city of Aurinia Station. The sunlight from the nearby star streamed through the shuttle's windows, making the panels glow in warm shades of gold and amber. Taryn was sitting next to him, adjusting the navigation console like it was second nature. "So," Taryn said casually, "how was your date?" Jax nearly choked on his coffee. "What date?" "The one last night. Don't tell me you forgot already," Taryn teased. "I heard Mara Kell herself was there. She was giving you advice," Jax groaned, pressing his hands to his face. "Don't remind me, it was embarrassing. And she said some weird stuff." "Like what?" Taryn asked, grinning. Jax hesitated. "Do I really want to admit it? She asked me why I never asked her out." Taryn laughed so hard the shuttle vibrated. "Of course she did. Mara loves messing with people. But wow. She sees something in you, Jax. That's why she teased." Jax muttered under his breath. "I don't know if I want to be seen like that." Taryn shrugged. "Well, whether you like it or not, you are. Humans have a way of standing out, you just don't always notice it." Jax frowned. Humans standing out. He didn't feel special. Most days he felt small, ordinary, and out of place, especially compared to Mara. When they landed at the complex, the airlock hissed, and Jax stepped onto the polished metal floors, feeling the familiar weight of excitement mixed with nervousness. Taryn led him past laboratories filled with glowing equipment and floating holographic displays. "All right," Taryn said, Time for the mission. Jax followed him into a large room where Mara was already waiting. She was standing next to a circular platform filled with holographic projections of alien species, star maps, and diplomatic scenarios. Jax froze. "Mara," he began, his voice trembling. "Good morning, Jax," Mara said with a warm smile. "I hope you slept well." Yes, thank you." Jax's mind was spinning. Why is she here? Mara's eyes sparkled with her usual cleverness. "I wanted to see you in action today." "Not in a date, in a challenge, a test," Jax blinked. "A test?" "Yes," Mara said, folding her arms. "You see, human ingenuity is unique. You have creativity, adaptability, and a sense of humor that alien minds often cannot predict. I want to see if you can use those traits in a real diplomatic simulation." Jax's stomach dropped. "A simulation? Like serious?" Mara nodded. "The Interstellar Council runs these simulations to train young diplomats. Usually, only adults with years of experience participate. But I think you're ready for a trial run." Jax's brain screamed. "This is insane. I'm not ready. I'm just a kid who went on one awkward date." Mara noticed his hesitation. "I don't want to scare you, Jax. I want to show you something important. Humans have something that even the most logical alien cannot predict. That can be a strength. If you accept this challenge and succeed, you'll understand what I mean." Jax hesitated. But then he thought about last night, the awkwardness, the laughter, and Mara's words. Maybe this is my chance to be better, to do something extraordinary. "Okay," he said finally, trying to sound confident. "I'll do it." Mara smiled, clearly pleased. "Good. The simulation begins today. You will encounter multiple alien species, each with different goals, rules, and communication methods. You will need to negotiate, problem solve, and think like a human." Taryn clapped him on the back. "See, you're already ahead. Mara chose you because humans have unpredictability on their side." The first simulation started immediately. Jax was transported into a holographic chamber, standing in the middle of an alien council hall. Around him were aliens of all shapes. Some had translucent skin, some had multiple limbs, and others floated slightly above the ground. A glowing orb in the center pulsed with light, indicating that the simulation had begun. A tall alien with shimmering blue skin stepped forward. "Human," it said in a deep, melodic voice, "your species is unpredictable. Convince us why we should trust your counsel." Jax gulped. He had no manual for this. Every alien species had unique logic and communication rules, and none of them seemed to respond to traditional diplomacy. He remembered Mara's words. Humans have humor, creativity, and adaptability. Use it. Taking a deep breath, Jax smiled nervously. "Well, humans have been surviving weird situations for thousands of years. If we can handle navigating black holes, star pirates, and awkward dates, we can probably handle a diplomatic meeting." The blue-skinned alien tilted its head. The other aliens around the table seemed confused. Jax continued, gaining confidence. "We think outside the rules. Sometimes the most unexpected solution is the best solution. Plus, we like to laugh even at mistakes. It keeps us thinking." To his surprise, one of the aliens, the smallest one with glowing green eyes, chuckled. It wasn't a perfect laugh, but it was laughter. The tension in the room eased slightly. Jax realized something. He didn't need to know all the rules or perfectly mimic alien diplomacy. He just needed to be human, unpredictable, clever, and genuine. For hours, Jax navigated through multiple scenarios. Each alien species challenged him differently. Some used logic puzzles, others relied on gestures or music. Jax stumbled a few times, accidentally sending a holographic starship crashing into an alien council table. But instead of getting angry, the aliens laughed, or at least simulated laughter. Mara watched from the observation deck above, her arms crossed, a faint smile on her face. She had seen countless students fail because they tried to copy alien strategies. But Jax Jax was using human creativity, humor, and courage. That was rare. By the end of the day, Jax was exhausted, sweating under the holographic lights, but he had survived. He had impressed the alien simulations not with brute force or memorized protocols, but with genuine human qualities. Mara descended from the observation deck, her steps calm and deliberate. "Well done, Jax," she said. "You've shown what humans can do, adapt, improvise, and turn challenges into opportunities. That's a gift many species don't understand." Jax wiped his forehead. "Thank you, I think. It was intense," Mara chuckled. "Intense, yes, but also revealing. You see, humans are valued across the galaxy not just for technology or knowledge, but for qualities no other species possesses naturally: ingenuity, unpredictability, and heart." Jax felt a swell of pride. He wasn't a legendary diplomat like Mara, but for the first time he felt that maybe he belonged in the bigger universe. That humans, even ordinary ones like him, had something unique to offer. "Tomorrow," Mara continued, "you will face the most difficult test yet. But tonight, celebrate your progress. Remember, you are human. That is your advantage." Jax nodded, feeling both nervous and excited. As he left the complex, the city lights of Orinia Station twinkling around him, he thought about last night's date, Mara's advice, and the simulation. Somehow, the awkwardness of human life, blunders, humor, mistakes, was what made humans special. And tonight he had finally seen that in action. He didn't know what tomorrow would bring, but for the first time, Jax felt ready to show the galaxy what humans could do. And maybe, just maybe, ready for more unexpected moments, whether they came from dates, friends, or mentors like Mara Kell. The morning light on Orinia Station felt sharper than usual, as if it was challenging Jax to rise to the occasion. After the previous day's simulation, he had slept fitfully, his mind replaying every awkward step, every small victory, and most importantly, Mara Kell's words: "Humans have creativity, unpredictability, and heart. Use it." Now, standing in the central hall of the Orinia Science Complex, Jax could feel that his next challenge was going to test him like never before. The holographic chamber before him was larger than yesterday's, with walls that shimmered as if alive. Floating in the center was a sphere of multicolored light, pulsating slowly, waiting for the simulation to begin. Mara appeared beside him, her presence both comforting and intimidating. "Today," she said, "you will meet a species that communicates in ways humans find unconventional. Logic alone will not guide you. Your human ingenuity will." Jax swallowed nervously. He had no idea what she meant, but he could already feel the weight of expectation pressing on his shoulders. "Good luck," Mara said, stepping back. "Remember what you learned yesterday. Predictability is your enemy. Adaptability is your ally." Before he could respond, the sphere expanded, and he was surrounded by beings that seemed to glow from within. Their bodies were translucent, filled with shifting colors that pulsed like liquid rainbows. They had no eyes or mouths in the human sense, yet Jax sensed intelligence radiating from them. A voice resonated, not in words but in vibrations. Jax could feel it in his chest, a series of patterns that seemed almost musical. He realized quickly that these beings communicated entirely through light and vibration, not sound. One of them shifted its glow to a bright green, a clear greeting. Another pulsed orange, signaling curiosity. Jax's mind raced. How do I respond? He had no formal training in alien communication. Then Mara's words returned to him. Use your human creativity. Improvise. He took a deep breath and mimicked the pulsing pattern with his hands, trying to create vibrations that matched the colors he saw. His first attempt was awkward, a stuttering series of pulses that made the aliens flicker with confusion. But one of them, a taller one with soft lavender light, pulsed in response with a slow rhythm, as if encouraging him. Encouraged, Jax tried again. He let the patterns flow naturally, mixing fast pulses with slow ones, bright flashes with soft glows. To his astonishment, the aliens began to respond in turn, and a form of communication emerged, not perfect but real. Hours passed as Jax learned to converse in rhythm and light, improvising solutions to puzzles the aliens presented. They challenged him with abstract scenarios, sharing limited resources, coordinating a simulated rescue mission, and predicting each other's behavior. Logic alone wouldn't have worked, only creativity and intuition could succeed. At one point, an alien pattern flashed rapidly, a clear sign of impatience or frustration. Jax hesitated. In any logical approach, he might have stopped, reanalyzed, and recalculated. But instead he laughed, a soft, nervous laugh, and added a playful flourish to his light pulses, creating a pattern that seemed almost like a dance. To his surprise, the alien paused. Then it pulsed in a steady rhythm, matching his playful pattern. A connection had formed. Jax felt a surge of pride. He hadn't just followed rules. He had created a bridge of understanding that no manual or protocol could teach. Mara observed silently from the control balcony above, her eyes following every move. Jax could feel her quiet approval even without her speaking. By midday, the simulation introduced its most difficult scenario yet. The aliens presented a complex negotiation problem. Two factions were at odds over resources critical to their survival. Jax had to mediate, translating abstract light patterns into actionable decisions that would satisfy both sides. He paused, overwhelmed. The patterns were intricate, and any mistake could end the simulation in failure. I can't do this, he thought. But then he remembered his own species' strengths. Humans thrived in chaos, turned mistakes into opportunities, and solved problems through creativity and empathy. He approached the situation differently than a logical AI or a trained alien diplomat would. He paused, observed the subtle shifts in color and rhythm, and responded with combinations that reflected both factions' priorities. He added a touch of unpredictability, a sudden bright pulse here, a pause there, that caught the aliens off guard but in a good way. Minutes passed. The simulation sphere glowed steadily, indicating a balanced resolution. Jax had succeeded, not by following rules but by embracing his human instincts. The aliens pulsed with a harmonious glow, a gesture Jax instinctively understood as approval. Mara descended from the balcony, her steps deliberate. "Remarkable," she said. "You didn't just solve the problem, Jax. You transformed it. Humans have a way of finding solutions that others cannot. You adapted, improvised, and led with intuition. That is why humans are respected across the galaxy." Jax exhaled, feeling both relief and pride. For the first time, he truly understood what Mara meant. Humans had something special. It wasn't strength or speed or logic. It was creativity, unpredictability, and the ability to connect, even with beings who communicated in ways no human had ever imagined. As the simulation ended, the holographic aliens faded, leaving Jax alone in the chamber. He felt a strange mix of exhaustion and exhilaration. He had faced a species that operated on an entirely different wavelength and succeeded, not by copying them but by being himself. Mara approached him, her expression thoughtful. "You see, Jax, human ingenuity is not just a skill, it is a survival tool. No matter the odds, humans find ways to adapt, to create, and to thrive. You've demonstrated that today." Jax nodded, still catching his breath. I didn't know I could do that." "You did," Mara said gently. "And that is why humans matter in the galaxy. You are not predictable, you are not limited by rigid logic, and you can find solutions where others fail." For the rest of the day, Jax walked through the corridors of the complex, replaying every moment in his mind. He realized that human ingenuity was more than just creativity. It was courage, adaptability, and the willingness to take risks, even when the outcome was uncertain. By evening, he was exhausted, but he felt a quiet pride. Mara's earlier words about unpredictability had become clear. Humans were exceptional not because of strength or speed, but because of the ability to think differently and act boldly. Later, as he sat in his quarters reviewing the simulation, Jax thought about last night's date with Lyria. Somehow, it all connected: the nervousness, the awkward jokes, the laughter. Humans could take messy, uncertain situations and turn them into meaningful connections. Whether it was a blind date or interstellar diplomacy, the same qualities applied: empathy, creativity, humor, and the willingness to try, even when the outcome was unknown. A small ping from his comlink interrupted his thoughts. It was a message from Mara. "Tomorrow's challenge will be harder, but I know you can handle it. Remember what makes you human. That is your advantage." Jack smiled, feeling both nervous and ready. He didn't know exactly what tomorrow held, but he knew one thing for certain. He had discovered something powerful about himself and his species. Humans might be ordinary in appearance, but extraordinary in action. As he lay down to rest, his thoughts drifted not to fear, but to possibility. Humans were unpredictable, clever, and courageous, and Jax Anders, for all his awkwardness, had just begun to understand what that truly meant. The stars outside his window shimmered like tiny promises. Jax closed his eyes, ready to embrace the challenges ahead. Because tomorrow, the real test would begin, and he intended to prove that humans, no matter their size or experience, could achieve the impossible. The morning on Orinia Station started with a quiet hum that made Jax's stomach twist. Today wasn't just another simulation, he could feel it. Mara Kell had sent a brief message before dawn. "Today, you will face a true test. Be human, trust yourself." Jax had spent the night reviewing notes, replaying the previous day's successes, and trying to anticipate what might happen. But deep down, he knew this challenge would not be predictable. Humans thrived in unpredictability, but even that had limits. When he arrived at the Orinia Science Complex, the large simulation chamber awaited him. Unlike before, the holographic sphere in the center was darker, almost ominous. Shadows flickered across its surface as if alive. Jax's nerves tightened. Something about the way it pulsed suggested this scenario would push him to his limits. Mara appeared beside him, as calm and poised as ever. "Today," she said, "you will deal with multiple species at once. Their interests conflict, and some of them will try to deceive you. Use your human instincts to uncover the truth." Jax swallowed. Deception, lies, his stomach churned. Humans had creativity and intuition, but could that be enough against alien cunning? "Don't doubt yourself," Mara added, reading his expression. "You've already proven that human ingenuity can achieve what others cannot." The sphere expanded, and Jax was enveloped in a holographic council chamber unlike any before. Multiple alien species filled the room: tall crystalline beings, floating luminescent forms, and creatures with multiple limbs and complex eyes. Each group had its own agenda, and they all watched him expectantly. The simulation began. A holographic projection of a galaxy appeared above the table, highlighting planets rich in resources. Two factions of aliens began arguing. The first wanted exclusive access to a planet's minerals, while the second claimed it as their ancestral territory. Their voices, or vibrations, or flashes, were sharp, demanding, and almost impossible to interpret at first glance. Jax's mind raced. Yesterday's experience had taught him how to adapt to unusual communication, but this was different. Multiple species, multiple priorities, and hidden intentions. A wrong move could ruin everything. He remembered Mara's advice: observe, improvise, and trust your instincts. He took a deep breath and began by listening carefully. Not just to words or patterns, but to subtle shifts: the speed of a glow, the tension in a limb, the hesitation before a response. Humans excelled at reading emotions and intentions, even when they were not directly expressed. Slowly, Jax started responding. He acknowledged the desires of each faction while suggesting compromises they might not have considered. When one group tried to mislead him, he noticed the tiny inconsistencies, the subtle flicker of their glow, the hesitation in their rhythm. His human intuition flagged the deception. "Interesting," he murmured under his breath. "You're hiding something." He shifted his strategy, presenting options that forced the factions to reveal more of their intentions. One alien leader tried to manipulate the negotiations by exaggerating claims about a planet's resources. Jax countered with a creative solution. Propose a shared research initiative that would benefit both factions, turning competition into cooperation. The room buzzed with tension. Aliens from the previous day would have likely stuck to strict rules, logic, or brute force. Jax had no such guidelines. He relied on human ingenuity, empathy, intuition, and improvisation. Hours passed. The negotiations grew more complex. At one point, Jax realized that a hidden faction, an unlisted group, was trying to sabotage the Council's efforts. Their subtle interference had caused small misunderstandings among the main factions, threatening to collapse the entire simulation. Jax's heart pounded. He could have panicked or called for external assistance, but human creativity refused to let him. He observed patterns, noticed the anomalies, and devised a solution. He gently exposed the hidden faction's interference without causing conflict, framing it as a misunderstanding and offering a collaborative solution that allowed all parties to save face. To his relief, the factions agreed. The simulation sphere glowed steadily, signaling balance restored. Jax had not only managed the negotiations, but had done so with ingenuity and tact, qualities no alien algorithm or rigid logic could replicate. Mara descended from the observation deck, her expression a mix of pride and admiration. "Remarkable," she said. "You've faced deception, hidden agendas, and complex conflicts, and your human intuition, creativity, and empathy prevailed. That is exactly what makes humans extraordinary." Jax exhaled, exhausted but exhilarated. For the first time, he fully understood the scope of human ingenuity. It wasn't just about cleverness or creativity. It was about resilience, empathy, and the ability to see beyond the obvious. "Today," Mara continued, "you've demonstrated something that even experienced diplomats struggle with: the ability to read intent, adapt strategies, and lead others toward a solution when no clear rules exist. You've done all of this simply by being human." Jax felt a swell of pride. He wasn't just a participant in a simulation. He was proof that humans had qualities unmatched by any species in the galaxy. The awkwardness of his life, the humor he relied on, and the mistakes he learned from were not weaknesses. They were strengths. Mara smiled, her eyes reflecting a soft light. "There is one more thing you should know," she said. "The simulation you face today mirrors real challenges that diplomats encounter across the galaxy. You have the potential to participate in actual interstellar negotiations, where your human qualities will make a difference." Jax's eyes widened. "Negotiations?" "Yes," Mara said. "Your performance today has proven that humans can succeed where others might fail. You have the adaptability, creativity, and courage necessary to influence outcomes in ways that no alien or machine could." For a moment, Jax was speechless. He had always felt ordinary, small in the vast galaxy, but now he realized that human qualities were rare, powerful, and respected across planets. Mara continued, "Humans are not the strongest physically, nor the most logical by alien standards. But that is precisely why you are invaluable. You can see possibilities others cannot, find solutions others cannot, and connect with beings others cannot. That is a gift." Jax nodded, still trying to absorb the weight of her words. He had survived a simulation that pushed him to his limits and emerged victorious not because he followed instructions, but because he embraced his human nature. Later, as he walked through the quiet corridors of the complex, He reflected on the journey so far. From an awkward blind date to navigating complex alien negotiations, he saw a common thread. Humans had the ability to turn challenges into opportunities, mistakes into lessons, and unpredictability into strength. For the first time, Jax felt confident in his own abilities. The galaxy was vast, filled with intelligent species, advanced technology, and unpredictable dangers. But he knew humans had something special, something no one else had. That evening, Mara sent him a final message. Tomorrow's challenge will test you in ways you cannot yet imagine. But remember, your human ingenuity will guide you. Trust yourself and trust what makes you unique. Jax smiled as he read it. He didn't know exactly what tomorrow would bring, but he was ready. For the first time, he truly believed that humans, no matter their size or experience, could overcome extraordinary challenges. As he lay down to rest, he thought about the simulations, the aliens, and Mara's guidance. Being human wasn't about perfection. It was about creativity, adaptability, courage, and heart. And with those qualities, Jax Anders knew he could face anything the galaxy threw at him. The stars outside his window shimmered like tiny sparks of possibility. Jax closed his eyes, ready to embrace the final stage of the challenge, and to prove that humans, even the most ordinary ones, could achieve the extraordinary. The final day arrived quietly, almost too quietly. Orinia Station looked peaceful through the wide windows of the science complex, but Jax Anders felt a storm of thoughts inside his mind. Today was not just another simulation. He could feel it in his chest. This was the end of the trial. Whatever happened next would change his life forever. Jack stood in the central hall, hands clasped tightly, breathing slowly. He was no longer the same nervous boy who had frozen on a blind date just days ago. The simulations had pushed him, confused him, and exhausted him, but they had also changed him. He had learned something important. Being human was not a weakness in the galaxy. It was a strength. Mara Kell entered the hall, her footsteps calm and steady. She looked at Jax with a thoughtful expression, one that carried both pride and seriousness. "Today," she said, "there will be no simulation." Jax blinked. "No simulation." "No," Mara replied. "Today is real." Before Jax could ask what she meant, the doors behind him opened. A group of beings entered, real representatives from several alien species. Not holograms, not tests. Real diplomats, leaders, and observers from across the galaxy. Jax's heart skipped. "You didn't tell me this would be real." Mara smiled gently. "Because if I had, you would have overthought it. Humans perform best when they act, not when they fear." The aliens took their places around a large circular table. Some glowed softly. Others clicked or shifted their limbs. A few studied Jax with unreadable eyes. One of them spoke, its voice calm but powerful. "Human Jax Anders, we have observed your performance in the simulations. Today, we wish to see if your qualities hold true outside controlled environments." Jax swallowed hard. This was no longer about passing a test. This was about representing humanity itself. He straightened his back and nodded. "I will do my best." The discussion began almost immediately. A developing star system had become a point of conflict. Several species wanted access to it for different reasons: science, trade, settlement, and preservation. No agreement had been reached for years. Jax listened carefully. He did not rush to speak. Humans, he had learned, were good listeners when they chose to be. He watched movements, changes in tone, pauses. He felt the tension in the room. Instead of offering a perfect solution, Jax did something unexpected. He asked a question. "What does each of you fear losing if this fails?" The room fell silent. Aliens were not used to being asked about fear. Many cultures avoided the concept completely. But one by one, they responded. A glowing being feared extinction. A tall, crystalline delegate feared cultural loss. Another feared repeating past mistakes. Jax nodded slowly. "Humans fear those things too," he said simply. That's why we argue, that's why we care. He proposed a shared system, not just for resources but for responsibility. Each species would protect part of the system. No single group would own it. All would be invested in its success. It was not a perfect answer, but it was a human one. The discussion continued for hours. There were disagreements, moments of tension, but something had changed. The room no longer felt divided. It felt connected. Finally, the lead delegate spoke again. We accept this framework, not because it is flawless, but because it is adaptable. Jax felt his legs go weak with relief. Mara watched him from the side, her expression unreadable until the delegates began to leave. Then she smiled. "You did it," she said. "I don't think I did," Jax replied honestly. "I think we did." "That," Mara said, "is exactly why you succeeded." Later that day, Jax was called into a smaller chamber. The room was quiet, simple, and bright. Mara stood across from him, hands folded behind her back. "There is something I need to tell you," she said. Jax tensed. "Am I in trouble?" Mara laughed softly. "No, quite the opposite." She activated a hollow display. A symbol appeared, the mark of the Interstellar Diplomatic Corps. "Jax Anders," she said, "you are being offered a provisional placement. This opportunity is rarely given to someone your age, but the Council agrees. You represent something the galaxy needs." Jax stared at the symbol, his mind struggling to catch up. "Me?" "Yes," Mara said firmly. "Not because you are perfect, not because you never make mistakes, but because you are human and you understand what that means." Jax thought of the blind date, the awkward jokes, the laughter, the confusion. He thought of every moment he had doubted himself. "I was just trying to survive," he said quietly. Mara stepped closer. "That is how humans change the universe, one moment at a time." As they walked out together, Jax realized something else. The strange question Mara had asked him days ago, "Why haven't you ever tried asking me out?" had never been about romance. It had been a challenge, a way to shake him out of fear, to make him see the world differently. She had never been teasing him, she had been testing him. Outside the complex, Orinia Station glowed under the stars. Ships moved silently through space. Life continued, unaware that something small but important had just changed. Jax sent a message to Lyria, thanking her for the date that had started everything. He sent another to Terran, who replied with excitement and pride. For the first time in his life, Jax felt sure of who he was. He was human. And in a galaxy full of logic, power, and precision, humanity's greatest strength was its heart. Not perfect, not predictable, but brave enough to try. As Jax looked out into the stars, he smiled, ready for whatever came next, because this was not the end of his story. It was only the beginning.